Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spin Cycle Live. I'm your host, Nathan Hale. Today, we have yet another great episode of this amazing, fabulous, fantastic show for you all today. Gosh, so much to cover, so much to talk about. But before we even get into any of that, thank you so much for watching. If you're not already following me on all the social media platforms, X, TikTok, Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, all the places, give me a follow on there. I'm at HomoNatian on all those different platforms. And I have a Substack now. You can follow me now on Substack. There's not anything up yet, but go ahead, give me a follow over there if you're interested in reading some of my writing. I'm planning on writing some articles that have more to do with some long-form content, as well as posting somewhat video versions of that, maybe cut down a little bit onto YouTube, where I discuss some more complicated topics I'd like to, have more of a long-form discussion about versus just kind of talking about a news story on the show with you all. So you can follow me on Substack. The link for that is in the description down below if you're watching YouTube or Rumble, or you can find it through my link tree in my Twitter bio. Head on over there, subscribe to it, put your email in. It's totally free. Unless you want to give me some money, I'm happy to take it. I have tips open on my X account. I have Substack. So whatever you want to do, if you're feeling generous, I'll take it. But absolutely do not feel the need to do it. I do all of this out of the goodness of my heart. I do not do it for any sort of money because, believe me, I make next to nothing doing all of this. I just love it so much. So, with all that aside, today is Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. We are back in the rhythm of doing Tuesday and Thursday shows. So all those shows are coming out Tuesday, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So you can watch them live at that time on X, YouTube, and Rumble. Otherwise, if you want to watch the show later, you want to watch past shows, whatever you're interested in doing, you can watch all of those. You can watch all of them on YouTube or Rumble, or scroll back in time through my X account and see them all there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our very first story of the day. This comes from Blaze Media. Now, I love me a Blaze Media story. I don't know why. I like the way their site is formatted. I like the way that they write. It's a little snarky sometimes. I get into it. I'm a big fan of Blaze Media. Now, their accuracy, I can't speak that. I read very few articles for them. It's just what I put on this show. But I enjoy their articles. They do a good job from as far as I'm concerned. So, Nancy Pelosi is back in the news today, folks. Nancy Pelosi cites January 6th to criticize Trump takeover of D.C. and gets obliterated by former chief of the Capitol Police. Now, we already knew from what Trump has told us, from what we've heard through the grapevine, that Nancy Pelosi was offered National Guard support during January 6th from Trump, but they didn't want that. They wanted to cover it all up. They wanted to make it into a huge show so they could talk about January 6th as if it was the Democrats' 9/11 for the end of eternity, as far as I'm concerned. I'm sure there's still Democrats talking about it online. In fact, I see them all the time still talking about it. Former Capitol Police Chief ripped into Democrat Representative Nancy Pelosi of California after she tried to cite the rioting at the U.S. Capitol while criticizing President Trump's federal takeover of D.C. The former Speaker of the U.S. House tried to accuse Trump of trying to distract the public by federalizing police in the District of Columbia and sending in the National Guard in order to shut down crime. Donald Trump delayed deploying the National Guard on January 6th when our capital was under violent attack and the lives were at stake, Pelosi wrote. Now, he's activating the D.C. Guard to distract from his incompetent mishandling of tariffs, healthcare, education, and immigration, just to name a few blunders. I don't exactly know what D.C. crime has to do with tariffs, healthcare, education, immigration, but what's new with Nancy Pelosi? She loves to ramble and say irrelevant things. So Stephen Sund, who was in charge of the U.S. Capitol Police on January 6th, offered a fierce but polite response. Quote, "Ma'am, It is long past time to be honest with the American people. On January 3rd, I requested National Guard assistance, but your Sergeant at Arms denied it. Under federal law, I was prohibited from calling them in without specific approval. That same day, Carol Corbin at the Pentagon offered National Guard support, but I was forced to decline because I lacked the legal authority, he wrote. On January 6th, while the Capitol was under attack, and despite my repeated calls, your Sergeant at Arms again denied my urgent request for over 70 agonizing minutes, running it up the chain for your approval, Sund added. Quote, when I needed assistance, it was denied, he concluded. Yet, when it suited you, you ordered fencing toppled with I honestly have no idea how to say that word. Concertina wire and surrounded the Capitol with thousands of armed National Guards troops. So, quite the story. By the way, if you hear anything in the background, they're still doing construction in this building. It's been going on for months now, on and off. So, hopefully you don't hear anything, but I'm just saying. I hear stuff. So, I think this is absolutely ridiculous what Nancy Pelosi did. So let's travel back to January 6th. Hold my hand. Let's go back in time as you will. So on January 6th, 2021, the U.S. Capitol was overrun by protesters calling for the overturning of the 2020 election. Now, was this the right way to go about protesting an election? I don't think so. Do I think it was this egregious terror attack like the Democrats would like to say it? Also, no, I don't think it was, right? I think that there was wrongdoing on both sides here, mainly from the Democrats for not having been better prepared. They knew this was coming. This guy asked 3 days prior for National Guard support of the U.S. Capitol. And what did Nancy Pelosi do? She sat idly by and allowed it to go on. Why? Because she knew that it suited her narrative of villainizing Trump supporters, of villainizing the Trump administration, and ultimately wanted to use this to target Donald Trump and put him behind bars. The entire Democratic apparatus after January 6, 2021 became obsessed with demonizing 50% of this country and locking up Donald Trump in prison for the rest of his life so he could never become president ever again. Absolutely criminal actions on Nancy Pelosi's part. This should be mainstream news. The Democrats love to look at Nancy Pelosi's character as she was this great, amazing Speaker of the House. Well, the fact of the matter is she lost the House twice under her reign. She allowed this to go on, and she allowed many other criminal actions to go on as well. She's the third highest ranking politician in the entire country. And she allowed this to go on under her watch, right? Absolute laughingstock Nancy Pelosi is as far as I'm concerned. Absolutely disgusting. So, what's going to be done about this? Well, I hardly think anything. I really don't think anything will come of this. Because we've shown in this country that when people do wrongdoings, they don't receive justice for them. We really have. As long as you are a high-ranking political or cultural leader in this country, if you're a very famous and wealthy celebrity, if you're a famous politician, right, justice is not served the same way that it is for you and I, right? And, you know, do with that what you will. Nothing's going to come of Nancy Pelosi because of this, right? But what's important is that we remember these things and that we continue to share them and we continue to talk about them and show the incompetence that the Democrats have had since, as long as I have been active in American politics, the Democrats have been an incompetent an incompetent, blundering party time and time again. It's important that we remember that. It's important that we continue to share that information, that we continue to make it public, that we continue to make this the massive deal that it should be, and push it into the mainstream, right? It's important that this gets around, because the voters that we rely on as a party, as Republicans, see stuff like this, and this deters them from voting for Democrats. At least it should. So keep pushing it on the mainstream, keep talking about it, keep screaming about the incompetence of one of the two major political parties. Don't ignore the Republicans either, by the way. They have some incompetent people too, but mainly Democrats. All right, let's move on. So we talked about Trump taking control of D.C. with the National Guard. So this article comes from the Federalist. So, very fitting. Trump takes control of D.C. police to restore safety, pride, and beauty to the nation's capital. So Trump said it is his duty to ensure that all citizens can avail themselves of their rights to interact with their elected representatives, and that the federal government can properly function without fear of being subjected to violent, menacing street crime. So President Donald Trump announced on Monday that his administration is taking back control of Washington, D.C. by returning policing power to federal control after decades of city government failure. Trump signed an executive order invoking Section 740 of the District of Columbia's Self-Government and Governmental Reorganization Act, which allows his administration to take control of D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department. Along with invoking Section 740, he declared a public safety emergency in the nation's capital. He also signed a memorandum to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, directing him to mobilize the D.C. National Guard to help clean up crime in the city. About 800 National Guard troops have been deployed so far, and mechanisms are in place to deploy more and request some from state governors, should the need arise. In a press conference announcing the move, Trump described how the city, which should be a center of pride for the American people, a place citizens can visit safely without the surgence of homeless encampments and fentanyl overdoses at every public park, has been overrun by violent criminals. Law-abiding citizens get mugged and raped and shot and killed, and under the weak D.C. government are forced to endure carjackings and other crimes with barely any law enforcement intervention and a completely hollow justice system. Over the weekend, a massive group of young degenerates terrorized residents of Navy Yard, launching fireworks, riding dirt bikes, and intimidating law-abiding citizens. A teenager allegedly shot a gun at a group of other teenagers in the area. So, good. The D.C. National Guard should clean up the city. It's a disgrace that our nation's capital is overrun by criminals, that this is happening. I don't want to distract from the fact, however, that this is happening all over the country. We have massive crime rates in many major cities across the country. So, just for comparison here. So, DC's crime rate. Now, you can go and look up on the DCPD's website. You can go look up on several different reputable statistical sites crime rates for different cities, for DC, for other cities in the country. So I went ahead and did this. So, of course, I'm from St. Louis. St. Louis is the #1 city for homicides in the entire country. I am no stranger to danger in a city, right? I'm from the most dangerous one, guys. I'm from it. I'm from there. I know what it's like. So DC, in terms of total violent crime, in terms of just different crimes in general, DC ranks around number 20 in the entire country for different crimes. So they're not in the top 10. They're not the most dangerous city in the country, but you know, they're still in the top 20, right? We have a lot of major cities in the country. DC's up there. I didn't spend too long with it. I'm sure if you took out the non-major cities, they would be up there a whole lot more because obviously there are smaller cities that have higher crime rates that are skewed in the statistical rankings because they're not accounting for the different populations that are living there. So, you know, do that what you will. Go and look up for yourself. But in terms of just cities in general, DC ranks around number 20, which definitely is not low. I've been seeing a lot of Democrats online saying that they can't believe that Trump is interfering in this because DC crime is going down. It's going down year over year. And that is true. DC crime has been going down, but it's still high. It's still significant, right? It's not like it's been going down. It's not like it's been cut in half in the last 5 years, right? It's steadily decreasing somewhat, but not anything super major. They've somewhat balanced out for the most part. If you look at the actual data, I probably should pull it up for you all to see. But go look for yourself. It's not that hard to find. But the point being, there's still a lot of crime happening in DC. It's still happening quite often, right? I heard from several people who have worked in DC, and they said that it's common for people to get mugged in the city. And in fact, if you have not gotten mugged at some point working in DC, that's rare, right? So crime is still really high in DC. So it's good that he's bringing the National Guard. It's good that he's cleaning up the streets of DC. We have some of the nation's most important historical documents, some of the nation's most important museums. It's one of the nation's most important cities. It's one of the most important cities in the entire world. And it saddens me to know how much crime is in fact happening there, and that it is not a beautiful and pristine city. I get it for a place like St. Louis, Missouri. St. Louis is not exactly relevant in the nation whatsoever all that much. So it's definitely far less than DC. So if any city should be cleaned up, it is DC. It should be a pristine, functioning, beautiful city, right? There's millions of tourists who go there every year. And we have some very important people who live in Washington, D.C. Crime should be low, and it should be taken care of. So I commend Donald Trump for doing this. I think that states should really start doing more stuff like this. I know that DC's not a state, but what I mean is, for example, I think the state of Missouri should be doing more to cut down on crime in places like Kansas City, in places like St. Louis. I think that Maryland should be doing more to cut down on crime in Maryland, in Baltimore. And they're not right now. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. Not enough time in this show to discuss what all of them are, but great job, Trump. Once again, another victory for the president. All right, let's talk about some tariffs again. So after tariff truce extended, a Trump-Xi summit in China? ? So in Austin, Texas, from Austin, Texas, so the United States and China appear to be pulling back from their trade war, with President Donald Trump extending a pause on tariffs in what could be a prelude to a summit with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping in Asia with Winnie the Pooh. The world's two largest economies have decided to set aside threats to impose triple-digit tariffs on each other for another 90 days, according to an executive order signed by President Trump on July 11th, hours after an extensive 90-day trade truce with China was set to expire. A likely venue for a bilateral meeting between the two presidents could be Kuala Lumpur, which is hosting ASEAN's East Asia Summit from October 26 to 28. Both leaders have confirmed they will attend the summit. So the other possibility is the sidelines of the Asia-Pacific economy incorporating APEC Leaders Summit in 2025 to be held October 31st to November 1st over Halloween. But there's a third possibility which might hold special appeal for the president, and according to some observers, would be more in keeping with his penchants for dramatic actions, a quick trip to China. So the Strategist Times learned from sources close to the administration that preparations are underway in Washington for a possible U.S. presidential trip to China between the Asian and APEC meetings. Things could change, however, as it is still early days, said a source asking for anonymity to discuss the sensitive information. So I feel like I'm on an emotional roller coaster here with tariffs, I swear. I feel like every other day I'm hearing that they're imposing tariffs on the country, they're taking tariffs off a country, they're putting more tariffs on the country, they're raising tariffs, they're lowering tariffs. I'm on an emotional roller coaster. What's happening with the tariffs? I can't keep it straight, guys. I can't do it. I can't keep it straight. Um, so I don't know why we're lifting the tariffs or pausing the tariffs. I think that we should put more tariffs on China and completely cripple their economy. I think that we should bring them to the negotiation table. This has been going on far too long. Haven't they had tariffs on China since like day one of the Trump administration coming in back in January? I'm just saying here, folks. So I feel like I'm on a roller coaster going back and forth with these tariffs, and I just like to know when we're going to reach a trade deal here. It seems like China does not want to reach a good trade deal with the United States. So as far as I'm concerned, Trump should double the tariffs on China and completely cripple their economy. China needs America to buy their goods, and if we're not doing that, then sayonara China. So we'll see what happens. I trust the president and his approach. I trust the people he has around him to make the right decisions. I just would like a little bit more information on what exactly is happening with all of that. That's all I'm saying. So we'll be sure to keep you updated. I don't talk about the tariffs nearly as much as I could, just because generally I don't feel like the news is super noteworthy on the tariffs. I feel like everyone else talks about tariffs every other day on their shows. I don't feel like a whole lot is super noteworthy about the tariffs, so I try and report on it, like with this story when it's relevant, such as a pause on a major country like this. So we'll see what happens. All right, well, that's all I gotta say about that. Let's go into our last story. So I saw this, I giggled a little bit. So this is from Rolling Stone. I've never had a Rolling Stone story on this show before. This is going to be interesting. So Madonna urges Pope Leo to visit Gaza. There is no more time, according to Madonna. So Madonna, who has not been relevant since 1989, is getting up on the world stage and compelling the leader of the Catholic Church to get involved more, that he's not doing enough. So in a brief but powerful letter, Madonna asked Pope Leo to visit the Gaza Strip, quote, before it's too late. In a Monday Instagram post, the pop icon called on the religious leaders as attacks from Israel continued amid its war from Hamas. Quote, Most Holy Father, please go to Gaza and bring your light to the children before it's too late. As a mother, I cannot bear to watch their suffering. The children of the world belong to everyone, Madonna wrote. You are the only one of us who cannot be denied entry. She added, quote, we need the humanitarian gates to be fully open to save these innocent children. There is no more time. Please say you will go. Madonna wrote on Instagram. So, quote, I'm not pointing fingers, placing blame, or taking sides. Everyone is suffering, including the mothers of the hostages. I pray that they are released as well, she wrote. I am merely trying to do what I can to keep these children from dying of starvation. Back in May, Pope Leo used his first ever general audience in St. Peter's Basilica to call on Israel to release aid into Gaza. Quote, I renew my fervent appeal to allow for the entry of fair humanitarian help and to bring to an end the hostilities, the devastating price of which is paid by children, the elderly, and the sick, Leo said, calling conditions in Gaza increasingly worrying and painful. So I always laugh a little bit whenever I see. Ooh, she's peeking over the edge of my screen right there. I think I'm gonna leave it. I'm gonna leave it right like that. Give you a nice peek from Donna there. I always giggle a little bit whenever celebrities post online about calling for anyone to do anything, as if they're actually being listened to. I would doubt that Pope Leo even knows who Madonna is, let alone having an Instagram post of her brought to him for him to take action, right? But, you know, I do have to agree somewhat. It is devastating that there are hostages, that there are starving children, that there are mothers, that there are these innocent people that are being caught in a senseless war between Israel and Hamas. But we have to remember that this is a terror group we're talking about. Hamas is not, like, they're not regular nice people like you and I. They are a terror group, right? They are trying to take over a region, and they're doing so by hiding underneath hospitals. So I don't think that we can really accurately, condemn a group or ask for aid to be brought into Gaza without recognizing that the group that's perpetuating this war are terrorists, that they're keeping this area under siege, that they're running a senseless war that's been happening for years. That they provoked Israel, right? 2 years ago now, almost 2 years ago. Just for comparison, the Israel-Hamas war has been happening for as long as I have been in college, right? I started college out here in August of 2023. It's been happening since October of 2023, right? Almost 2 years now. The other thing I want to point out is, has anyone noticed that we don't hear anything about Russia and Ukraine anymore? Right? Haven't you noticed that whatever current war is happening in the world is the one that the media grips onto, right? People stop really caring about Russia and Ukraine, which frankly is good. I could care less about the war happening between Russia and Ukraine. So now they're focusing on Israel and Hamas. I honestly could care less about what's happening between Israel and Hamas right now, to be honest with you. It does not concern the United States one bit. Israel is an ally of the United States, but we've done what we can for them, and it's time for them to come to an agreement on what needs to be done about this, and or bomb the heck out of them, right? There's one of two ways of ending this. Either you have to make an agreement with Hamas, or you have to bomb the snot out of them and send them into oblivion. That's what you got to do if you're Israel, right? Those are the two paths you have when we really talk about it, when we really think about it. So I hope it ends soon. I was told by the Trump administration that it's always going to be over by now, and it hasn't. So I really don't know what to say. I somewhat agree with Madonna that it's sad that there are innocent bystanders being caught up in this war, but what's Madonna going to do about it, right? Frankly, what's Pope Leo going to do about it, right? It's not really a matter of it's not up to them, right? So maybe Madonna should be calling for Hamas to stop attacking Israel. Maybe Madonna should be calling for peace in the Middle East. Maybe Madonna should be calling for the fact that Israel just needs to be left alone, right? Maybe Madonna should be condemning the Islamic State that is perpetuating wars in the Middle East. But no, she's not. Because the left never wants to actually take accountability for the people actually committing crimes. And that seems to really be the spin of today's episode. So, with that, I have been Nathan Hale. This has been Spin Cycle Live. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. We'll be back here on Thursday with yet another great episode, and hopefully we have more to report on for you all. So much to talk about, so many things to get into. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I know that I did. If you're not already following me on all the social media platforms, follow me there. Links are in the description. If you're watching on my X account, you can go to the link tree in my bio. You can follow me on all of the social media platforms there. If you're not subscribed to my Substack, go subscribe there. There will be writing there soon. It's in the works right now. There's other things that need to be attended to in my life at the moment before I can really get to that. So one thing at a time, folks. And if you have interest in talking more about anything, send me a DM. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know how we can make the show better for you. And make sure you share this show with friends. The biggest way that we get support and the way that I'm able to keep doing this is if you keep watching. So share it with friends. Let people know you should watch this show. Retweet it. Retweet me. The more people I have following, the more people I have watching this show, the more sustainable it is for me to do it for you all. So if you have questions, comments, suggestions for the show, like I said, DM me. Let me know. My DMs are open. But with that, I've been Nathan Hale. This has been Spin Cycle Live. Until next time, peace out.